I can't even imagine. Have you heard those words and thought to yourself, neither can I? But it happened. You lived it. But most importantly, you survived it. We hear you, we see you, and we're here to talk about it. We're two moms, lifelong best friends, and we've both experienced traumatic, life-altering events involving our children.
Last night I was laying in bed, teeth brushed, pajamas on, showered, and everything at 9.
Wow.
I never do that.
No.
We've been getting into bed between 9:30 and 10 for like the last few months, which has been so glorious because I've said for my entire life that if I sleep over 7 hours, I am so overslept. I'm like more tired.
See, not me.
And now I'm at an age, I think it's my age, where I went to bed at 9. Probably didn't go to sleep till 10, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be able to get so much sleep uninterrupted. Like I've just been getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night for 15 years, if not more, since I've had kids, never sleep, not enough,
Yeah.
And so now I'm like in bed. I'm so happy I'm in bed early. I get home from work. Been trying to get home a little earlier. So between like 6 and 7:30. And then I am sitting at my computer doing stuff for school or doing stuff for the podcast. And we're eating dinner and we're literally going straight to bed. As soon as dinner's done, clean up, brush teeth, everybody, let's go. Like I don't have that few hours before bed to like digest. I go straight to sleep. It's not great. I know that. Like, don't come at me, people. I know it. But fit it into my life and I want to eat with my family. So it sucks.
I get like 6 to 7 hours of sleep during this the school week, but then on the weekends, if I have the opportunity, I could sleep 12 hours easy if somebody lets me.
Hell no.
If somebody lets me, but that doesn't happen. But we're usually like I get about 8 to 9 hours on the weekends for Friday night and Saturday night. But because I'm a night owl. I really don't fall asleep until like midnight, but I'll get in bed early. I can still get in bed around 9 and 10 o'clock, but I'll like watch TV or whatever, play around on my phone, scroll Instagram, answer emails.
I go to bed. I'm naturally somebody who prefers to stay awake late. Like I like the alone time. I like the quiet time by myself. But my husband is the only reason I'm in bed any earlier than midnight. Because he's like, all right, time for bed. And he shuts the TV off. I'm like, wait, what? No, last night I was so pissed. He shut the TV off at 8:15. I'm like, dude, we just finished dinner. And he's like, okay, what else do we have to do before let's be honest. How much work has to be done right now just to get ready for bed? Okay, well, the cats have to be fed. The bunny has to be fed. The dog has to be fed and go out. Shut everything down, make sure everybody's teeth are brushed, say all of our good nights to everybody. I need to take a shower, pajamas, maybe some sexy time if we have enough time. And he's like, it's an easy 45 minutes before we're actually alone in our room with the door shut.
Right.
And I'm like, fuck, man, he's not fucking wrong. I just want to do nothing but sit and watch TV. Because I've been entertaining everybody all fucking day. I'm talking to people. I'm doing shit all day for other people.
Right.
The one time I can graze my ass on that couch to watch TV. And it's like, shoop, episode over. Or he's like, oh, it's a good place to stop. And we never finish an episode of anything. It takes us like
do you have a TV in your room?
Yeah, I watch TV to go to bed.
Okay.
I watch Three's Company. And it's a half-hour
Some things
episodes.
never change.
Yeah, it's a half-hour episodes, and I am falling asleep before the episode ends. It's fantastic every night.
See, I hate falling asleep with the TV on, and my husband has to fall asleep with the TV on. So I have grown accustomed to it, but I still don't like it, even to this day. We've been together for almost 20 years.
I grew up with a TV in my room past the age of 10, and I love putting the sleep timer on and falling asleep to the TV, because otherwise my brain starts going, and I'm thinking of different ideas and different businesses I can start and all these fucking stupid things. And I cannot fall asleep.
See, when I turn off the TV, the man is still he's snoring, and I turn off the TV, and he goes, "I was watching that." No, you weren't. Shut up. I was. What happened then? Tell me what just happened. I was watching it. Shut
That's
the
me.
fuck up.
That's so funny. Keith has his headphones in, and he plays like binaural beats in his ears to fall asleep, and has an eye mask because the TV's so bright.
See if because I don't like the light of the TV either, and he'll just throw a pillow on my head, and I'm like, I don't want to be smothered.
Yeah.
Like I like the cool air. Like I'm the kind of person like blankets come up to my chin.
Me too.
But do not cover my face.
Nope. Mm-mm.
I have to be able to breathe the cool air.
Me too.
I do not want to breathe warm air. It's disgusting. I feel like I'm suffocating.
Me too. Yeah.
And he'll put a pillow over my head. I'm like, listen, I know that you do that and it works for you, but that doesn't work for me. Stop fucking doing that to me.
Yeah.
Just turn the TV off. Why don't you be a bro? Be a bro for once and just turn the TV off.
Yeah, because otherwise he's going to get the pillow over his fucking head and get smothered.
I tell him all the time. I'm like, I could easily kill you in your sleep.
Have you seen that thing that people do, like where the wives and the husbands go like walking in the woods? And it's like a prank that the wives say to their husband. They're like, oh, it's so beautiful out here. And he's like, yeah, it is so quiet. And she'll be like, yeah, nobody can hear you scream.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
And they're like, what? She's like, it's so serene. He's like, no. What did you just say?
Nobody will hear you scream.
It's so funny.
I like the marriage ones where they're running next to each other and they say like the off the wall.
The
suspect. It's about like a suspect, like running from the cops, and it'll like make fun of each other, like, you know, suspect can't watch TV without falling asleep or whatever, you know, and they like roast each other.
Yeah.
Those are really cute.
They're very funny. When I do have a couple of minutes, well, this is the fucking bullshit part about it. How is it that I find time? And I'm not looking at reels and stuff very often, but when I do, I cannot peel my ass off the fucking chair. And I'm just like laughing and I'll send them to a bunch of people. And then it gets to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to start saving these because I've sent so many. It's embarrassing. Looks like I literally have nothing to do with my day. There's so much shit that's just so funny. Oh, here. Today I completed a chore I've been putting off for 7 months. It took 12 minutes. I will learn nothing from this.
Yes.
The thing about the reels and everything, I love the fucking honesty.
Yeah.
We're definitely in a time where like this fucking bullshit making everything look cute on the outside, like, and that whole like royalty and all that shit. And it's just such a guise for, you know, just bullshit. It's such bullshit.
Just bullshit.
Yeah, because, what are they going to think about us if we don't go promenade this afternoon? Shut the fuck up. Who gives a fuck what they think of you?
That's the thing about aging that I love.
Uh-huh.
Because you just, over time, you just stop giving a shit.
Yep.
I don't care. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care if you think that my side part is not trendy anymore.
Yeah, fuck you. I'm keeping a side part.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely digging the more like realistic mom reels. I love the ones where they show like their dirty ass house.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yes, finally. We finally have come to that point.
Yep.
Today we welcome Christina, mother of two, body sculpting specialist, esthetician, and survivor of mental and emotional abuse by a narcissistic partner. Thank you for being here today, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I've been looking forward to this. It's a little bit different. I know a lot of the times we talk about, medical trauma or, things like birth trauma and things like that, or child loss. But this is really important too. And so I commend you for your courage and bravery in coming in and telling your story.
I think I'm ready to talk about it more on like a public level because it is a real thing, and it has, I've noticed, becoming more common, and people don't talk about it, and they just kind of stay stuck in these relationships because they feel like they have to because of children, finances, and so many other reasons not to leave. And abuse is not always physical because my ex never put his hands on me. But it was always very emotional, mental, and, just trying to break you down all the time.
What was the relationship like when it started?
The usual, the love bombing. It comes off as the perfect human being, charming, considerate, open your car door, take you out, tell you all the things. You're the most beautiful woman in all the things we want to hear in our early 20s when we're young and naive, and then they just do this switch out of nowhere.
And how do you even find a red flag there? Because that's what every girl wants. You know,
Exactly.
it's like, how do you even know what not to look for?
Well, after going through it for 9.5 years, I've learned I don't date
Oh, sure.
at all right now, and I'm celibate. And I left him 2.5 years ago now, but now I could see the red flags. Like when my friends are telling me things, like when they're too pushy to be with you 24/7, or
Right.
they're talking so soon about how deeply they feel about you, wanting to spend every second with you. That shows emotional immaturity in a different way. That shows they're codependent. And that's what I've noticed by doing a lot of reading. That's kind of what's helped me heal too, is by reading about this stuff and researching narcissistic personality disorder and love bombing and all those things. And I feel like if we educated ourselves, then we would be more aware and our eyes will be more open.
Right.
You know, and like, you know, there's those groups. Are we dating the same guys?
I have been married for a million years, so I've never joined one, but I want to look at it so bad.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. It's like whenever I read somebody posting about a guy, I'm like, oh, well, there's reason 1,250,658 why I won't date.
Right.
Because they'll be asking, oh, any tea or red flags, and then they'll put down what they've experienced. And it's like when you're reading, you're like, how do you not know?
Yeah, how do you not see this?
This is bad.
Yeah.
Stay away.
Yeah.
You know?
It's so interesting because, yeah, there's like the beautiful part of a relationship in the beginning where you want to be with each other a lot and you're so excited to be with each other. But then it's like, at what point is it too much to like cross that over into that he's probably a narcissist? You know, there's probably a fine line.
Well, there's a number of different things. Like when I look back, I think about like when I'm an esthetician, but I'm also an electrolysis, though I don't really use that. But when I was going to electrology school is when I started dating him. And I remember I graduated and he faked, like he said he was sick. He didn't want to go to my graduation and we had planned this. He wasn't sick though. So, but me being stupid and naive at the well, I shouldn't say stupid, being naive at the time, I didn't want to go if he wasn't going. I developed that trauma bond, that
Yes.
attachment. So I didn't go to my own graduation because I did, but then he was fine and he's like, oh, let's go do something. So
Oh, no.
yeah, so and that they'll do things like sabotage happy occasions like your birthday or anniversaries, anything that has to do with celebrating you or your goals. They want to like basically sabotage it.
Right.
And then there are signs as you can't go anywhere by yourself and you can't have any of the guy friends that you grew up with. They'll isolate you from your female friends, your male friends, your family, and it slowly starts triggering down to those things. And I noticed, like looking back, I see it. I was like, oh my God, like he really didn't want me around anybody that would tell me, hey, wake up, something's
Right.
not right here.
Right.
You know, not going to work, always depending on me to pay for everything and lying. Like when I first met him, he told me he had a car and it wasn't his car, it was his cousin's car. So it's like little things that you can't dismiss as, oh, well, maybe he was just embarrassed because he didn't
Right.
have a car. No, he straight up lied to you.
Yeah.
And that's a no-no.
Yeah. Gosh, that's so interesting.
And
It's
you
so
were
scary.
You said you were with him for 9 years, right?
9.5 years.
And you guys have 2 kids.
2 children, yeah.
So when did you start to see and like question his behaviors?
I started to notice it and question it probably, you know, after when I was pregnant with our daughter. But I never left because I made excuses in my head. I didn't know what narcissistic personality was. I didn't know what this type of abuse was. So you make excuses and you hold on to that person that they kind of pretended to be in the beginning. So then they do something called breadcrumbing, right? Where they show you who they were when you met them to keep you holding on just when they know when you're about to leave and when you're fed up. So then they'll turn around and do something nice for you, be really sweet, pull you back in. Then they do the 360 again. But what really did it was when I started how it was affecting my daughter years later. Her behavior started changing. He started saying nasty things to me in front of her. Our son was a baby and he also had a really bad drug problem. So I would find drugs on him and I would flush it down the toilet and then I would kick him out and then he'd come back and apologize. And I didn't realize it was such a big problem. I thought it was like sporadic. And so then it shows there's emotional immaturity there where if you can't handle anything that goes wrong in your life because then you immediately run to that drug for, like a security blanket, or you have to have that constant attention from another woman. You're never happy in the situation that you have.
Right.
So it was hard to leave because I still loved him very much, but I had to see what it was doing to the kids. And people will say, oh, well, I stay for my kids, but you're causing more harm than good sometimes. And sometimes you have to leave for your kids to kind of get rid of that generational curse. I don't want my daughter to end up with somebody like him, or worse, I don't want my daughter turning into somebody like him. And I damn sure don't want my son, behaving that way with women and seeing like, oh, that's how men should be, where they don't have to pay any bills and they can buy drugs and put everything on you, having you clean the house, having you pay the bills, tell you that you look like a whore with anything that you put on, telling you your hair is stupid, your skin is too pale, you're too skinny, or whatever, like those are all the things he would say to me. The music I liked was stupid. Anything just to keep you, because they were so threatened by you. And they were so insecure. Bringing you down would keep you from looking for something better in their minds.
Right.
So that's that. When to leave. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I don't even know how to describe that. And then you see them for who they really are. And then it makes it easier to leave. The process is hard.
Sure. Yeah. It's got to be hard, though, when you finally open your eyes to it and you cannot now unsee it. That's got to be a really kind of shitty realization.
It is, because then you have to mourn that person.
Of course.
You have to mourn the person that never existed.
Right.
Because the person that you loved was somebody that they pretended to be.
Yeah.
And the monster that they were showing you is who they really are. And then people that are in the situation that I'm in and want to get out, they have to understand that once you leave, they will move on quick.
Right.
They are going to, because they have to have that trauma bond. They have to get that high off of having that control over somebody, getting that validation and that attention. And it does not make the person better than you. It makes them another victim. That's
heavy. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, I just say, oh my God, that new poor unfortunate soul, because women think, oh, they're going to treat them better. He's going to treat her better than he treated me. Nope. If anything, he's going to treat them worse.
Right.
Because my ex, he immediately made sure to have his next person in line, because they know when you're done. They know when it's getting to that point. So he was already grooming her in order to move in, because he, it's called hobosexual. I don't know if you've ever heard of that term.
No.
It's when a man cannot independently take care of himself. So he will use other women for a place to live, a place to stay, for sex, for food, for your vehicle, for whatever they need from you. So, and he also preyed on this other person who he's still living with today. Her husband ended up passing away from horrible circumstances, and they were friends, my ex and the husband. And I guess the husband stopped talking to him because he's seen on the camera him going into the house when he wasn't home. So he found out. I had no idea this was going on. He found out what was going on. And mind you, this is when I'm done. It's towards the end of it for me. So immediately after this man passes away, I kicked my ex out. Not that I finally made him leave, and he moves into her home no more than 3 months after the death of the husband. So, and that's another thing. It's a trauma bond for her too.
Sure.
The new victim, because he was a drug addict too. They were drug addict friends. So she couldn't be alone, and she was codependent on being treated that way. She was groomed for that. So what do? You naturally go towards what reminds you of that.
Right.
But
especially when there's a trauma involved with your husband gets
murdered.
Yeah. I mean, in a situation that was probably drug fueled, I would imagine. And
Yes.
if that's all she knew as the wife, is this drug lifestyle, then she's going to definitely gravitate towards somebody that was A, close to her husband, and B, in that lifestyle that she just knows and understands.
If all you know is abuse, if you don't know anything else, that's all you're going to be drawn to.
Right.
So the point is for us to do better for ourselves and for our children, because they did have a child together. So, and I can imagine how confusing that is for the child. And my thing is, no matter what you're going through in your personal life, we have to put our children first. They don't ask to be here. We bring them here.
Right.
So once we bring a child into this world, it is our responsibility to put their needs before our own. I didn't want to leave my ex. I did it because I had to. I knew it wasn't going to change. 9 years later, it didn't change. It's not going to change. And I had to accept that. And then I had to move forward. In order for us to have a good relationship in the future, you have to be alone. If all you're used to is abuse, you haven't healed.
Right.
You have to do the work, and it's ugly. Healing is not this beautiful, pretty moment. You're going to go through a lot of different emotions and a lot of different, you're going to go through anger. You're going to go through regret, resentment. Guilt is a big one because you blame yourself.
Sure.
And then you think back, was I just overreacting? Or did that really happen?
Really gaslighting yourself.
Yep. Because they condition you.
Yeah.
They'll flip it.
Right.
If you catch, let's say you're with a narcissist and you walk in on him cheating on you, he will literally gaslight you to make him think that you pushed him there.
Right.
You forced. Yep. That's what they do. That's exactly what they do. And they're smart.
Yeah.
Narcissists are smart.
And there's no cure for it.
No.
There's no therapizing yourself out of narcissism.
Nope. There's only self-awareness and going to do the work constantly, but it's just like a drug addict. There's no such thing as once you're an addict, you're an addict. It's about maintaining sobriety, moving forward.
Right.
You know, just like a narcissist, it's about maintaining a healthy boundaries and knowing that you have this problem, knowing what you do to people and just being self-aware.
Right.
You know, and I want that for him. I had a restraining order on him. And he violated it. So I was like, okay, this is a great opportunity. Instead of throwing him in jail, I forced him into a program that I hope is helping him.
And he's in the program right now?
Yeah.
Is he taking kindly to it?
I hope so. I heard he's doing what he's supposed to. But my thing is, what are you going to do after?
Right.
I would love for him to have a relationship with our kids. I really would. Starting off slowly, supervised visitation. Like I'm not bitter towards him. I will always love and care for him as a human. He's the father of my kids, and he's not all bad.
Right.
It just was bad for me and our kids.
And I loved when we had talked to you before in the pre-interview how like you just treat him as if he's sick.
He is sick.
He is sick. It doesn't mean that he's a bad human being. And I really admire you for looking at him that way.
Well, because I remember good things. Like, I remember when I fell in love with him. We were in Miami. We're from the East Coast. We were in Miami. Went to some Cuban spot, and there was a homeless guy, and he's like, oh, my God, I have no cash. And we had a bunch, because, you know, if you go to a Cuban restaurant, they feed you like you've never eaten before in your life. They give you so much food. So he stops guys like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash, but I have all this food. He's like, do you want the food? And the guy was like, yeah. And that's like when I fell in love with him, because he does have a good heart.
Yeah.
And what happened to him as a child, there's a reason for why he is the way he is. He was born on drugs. I love my mother. I'm very close to his family, too. I love his family. They are my family, and they're great with the kids. They have filled in his spot. You know, whatever he lacks and is missing, they have stepped up. And I love his mom, but she was not, you know, a great role model growing up. Like, he was born on drugs. She was in abusive relationships. He was left alone with whoever, and horrible things happened to him as a child. You can imagine in your head a little boy being left with a grown man that was not right in the head. Yeah. So he's had a lot of horrible things happen to him. So I understand and I forgive him, but he has to do the work.
Yeah.
You know, and he knows he has a problem and he has all these demons. And that's another thing when you're looking into dating, especially if you have children, you have to be so careful, and you really have to look at what they say versus what they do. And you have to look at their history, their family history, things, traumas that they've gone through, because I'm telling you, if they have not gotten help and done the work, stay far away from that person, because they're going to inflict that on you.
Oof.
It's rough.
That seems so rough.
And it's hard to tell too.
Right.
You can look normal.
That's what I was going to say. It's like, it's so scary because it's so hard to tell. How do you know? You know?
You don't until you start to get to know them.
Yeah.
And just keep your eyes open.
Because if they're so good at lying, you know, they're so good at masking who they really are, then they're probably going to have a great family life, or like that's their lie, or they're the victim in every story. I guess that's probably something to look out for too, right?
Yes.
If they're the victim in every story,
Whenever
everybody else's fault.
If they say my ex is crazy, why is she crazy?
Right.
What did you
Right.
do to push her to that point of crazy? And I don't hate men. That's part of healing. At first I thought they're all shit, and I hate them all. And I don't. I know that there's good men out there. I just don't want to meet any of them because like I said, I have 2 small kids. I'm working on my career, and my focus is my kids and their healing. And it's like we said, it's hard to tell who's right. And my biggest fear is bringing somebody into my kids' lives that is going to cause them more trauma that they've already witnessed. And a body in my bed just isn't that important to me.
No, no.
That empty space in my bed is for my dogs and snacks.
Right.
They're not for a man.
I love that. Although if he is doing the work and he does want to like help homeless people who are hungry, you said that he's like got a good heart.
He does.
So maybe they can have that relationship if he learns what being a narcissist means and how to navigate life through that and not be an asshole to other people.
Yeah, that's what I'm. It's drugs though. Drugs really. When he's on those binges, it's
yeah,
like,
dude. Drugs fuck people
takes
up.
your soul. Takes your
it does.
soul.
People on drugs are not the same people when they're off drugs.
No. Like I would
They're
even
a totally
see
different person.
His eyes, like when he would have what I call episodes, his eyes would go black.
What was he on?
Cocaine.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his drug of choice. And then if that wasn't, he would, pills, like it would lead to other things, whatever.
Sure.
He has an addiction personality, sex, gambling, drugs, alcohol, like anything that could numb whatever. He doesn't know how to feel. And I would tell him, like, you need to just learn to feel.
Right.
What you're going
Maybe he's
through.
too scared to feel because everything that he had to feel as a little kid was so painful.
He's always just about getting back with me. And that's how it always has been. It was never like about the kids. So it's like having to set those boundaries to be like, you know what? That's never going to happen. But you could still have a relationship with your children kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'll tell you, man, when it rains, it pours. Because like when I was going through all that stuff initially with him, the economy started getting really bad.
Oh, yeah.
And, running a business by myself. Now I'm responsible for 2 kids by myself because he obviously doesn't help and hasn't helped.
Right.
So my business was like falling.
Sure.
And I had just gotten an investor too. Yeah. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was a good amount. And everything was just falling apart. And I thought I was going to have to shut down. I just remember feeling like a failure. My relationship failed. I feel like I failed my kids. How am I going to pay my rent?
Right.
And my business always did really, really well. I started it when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter because I've always wanted to, but I was always afraid to. And my dad would always tell me, you can't be afraid to fail.
Right.
Because that's going to be what's your downfall. So
Yeah.
I just, getting pregnant with her lit a fire in my ass and I did it.
Right.
And it did so well for so long. And then, after I finally had the guts to leave him, everything starts falling apart.
Yep.
And I realized I love how you guys have grown up together because me and my best friend, we've been friends since we were 7 years old, my best friend JoJo. And she opened up this whole new perspective for me. And I started doing what she said. I started speaking positivity into myself. I started listening to affirmations every day. I started really doing the work and engaging in consistent action.
Mm-hmm.
And through all that, my life has gotten so much better. And I realize, I don't know if anybody's religious. I'm not like textbook religious, but I believe in God and I believe in the universe and I believe in a higher power. And I truly believe that I was meant to go through this to teach me to be stronger and to not give up. And you're going to go through hard times. But you have to remember it has not come to stay. It's come to pass. And even though you feel like you're failing, you feel like you're dying inside, you want to scream, you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You can have your moment of weakness and cry and get it out, but then you can't sit in it. You can feel it, but you can't sit in it. And it was hard altogether. It was hard getting out of that relationship, breaking that trauma bond, not like making sure, I'm not straying away from the goals and just sitting in it.
Because it's so easy to want to stray away from the goals, because in the moment it's easier, probably.
Yes.
Right? It's easier just to sit on the couch, numb yourself with a show, grab a bunch of snacks, and not do any of the work.
Not do the work. So I forced myself back into a routine with being consistent, being intentional, just being there for my kids, going to the gym, meal prepping. Having a routine gets you through it. Researching and reading about your partner's issues and everything that they put you through wasn't because they hated you, it was because they hated themselves.
What did this do to your self-esteem after you guys had been, like, did you have to do a lot of self-talk as I'm awesome or whatever?
I did, because at first you feel like you're not enough. Why did I not love him enough? Was I not enough? And you have to realize that no, it was the opposite. You were too much.
Yeah.
Because
he couldn't handle it.
No, he couldn't. He hated. That's why he would tell he admitted that to me, that he was very insecure, and that he would tell me I look like a whore, and I'm basically wearing what I'm wearing right now. I look like a whore. My makeup looks stupid. The way I walked was stupid. Everything about me was stupid.
So what kind of breadcrumbs would he give you if he's putting you down that much? What would he do to like make you want to be like, okay, he was probably just mad when he said that stuff, so this is what makes him great and why I want to stay with him?
He would start doing things around the house, like helping. Like once he saw I was getting fed up with it, then it was, you're the most beautiful woman in the whole world. I've been looking for you my whole life, and I love you more than there's sand in the ocean or whatever he would say to me. Yeah, yeah. That's what he would say, and all those things, and that draws you back. And like the things that he would do for you, oh, get dressed, let's go do something, but then guess who ends up paying the bill? Right. Me. So but yeah, that's what they do, man. They need to have somebody there. They're incapable of being alone. Right. And until they learn to be alone, like I've had to learn to be alone. And remember what I said about history repeats itself? Before him, I was married. Mm-hmm. I was with my, very young, obviously, I was a teenager, and I met my ex-husband, and we were together for 6 years. And when we got married, he cheated on me, and I left because I don't stay with that. And I didn't give myself, I was young still, not giving myself time to heal. And I had very low self-esteem after, being cheated on. And the first, he was so sweet, and his smile was so nice, and he was so charming and kind and attentive. And it was a year later I met him after, divorcing my ex-husband. So again, there goes history repeating itself. Mm-hmm. And if you don't allow yourself to be single for a long time, not a couple of months, not a year, a long time, and really get to know yourself, you're going to keep meeting those same type of people. Right. Because you don't value yourself. And a man that sees that is going to prey on it, because they could take advantage of you. And that's where it comes with history repeats itself. Heal. Be alone. Right. Work on yourself. Love yourself. Because when you love yourself, you're going to see through the bullshit. And nobody's going to hurt you ever again.
Well, that's why I see these videos on Instagram and things all the time where men are out there. It's kind of like somebody's not replying, but they're reacting to somebody else's video. And the original video will be like, women they're so hard to date now because they don't allow me to be chivalrous or allow me to do this, or they're just complaining because women are so hard to date. But then somebody comes in with their, I don't know, what do they call it, a stitch? They're like, it's because women know what they want. Women are more aware of what they want in this world, and they're not going to put up with your baby fucking games. Mm-hmm. And I love those videos. I think I probably sent one to you yesterday.
It's true. And we're not innocent either. There's narcissistic women out there, and they're just as bad, if not worse sometimes, than the men.
Well, because you don't expect women to be like that.
No, but
not nearly as much as men.
We're very ass backwards. And people don't realize that when you're dating somebody, you have to compromise. There has to be emotional boundaries. There has to be emotional maturity. There has to be respect. Like you shouldn't have to check your partner's phone. There should be no need for that. Right. It should just it's common sense. And if you want to screw around, be single and do what you want, but just be honest with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And with women, that they don't want to be alone either. And that's why they settle, for these men. And then the one thing I can't stand is when men are like, oh, well, you chose him. No. No, we didn't choose that.
No.
Because had he shown who he was in the beginning, there would have been no way in hell.
No, nobody would. I mean, that's
No.
what anybody says with somebody who's like in any domestic violence situation. He doesn't come out straight out of the gates like beating the shit out of you on
Swinging.
date one.
No.
You would never stick around. You'd
No.
be like, no. But it's slowly over time.
Yeah, because they mirror you. They listen. They're good at listening.
Like
They
chameleons.
Listen. Yes, they are chameleons. They are going to mirror you. They're going to conform to you. They're going to, oh, yeah, I like that music too. Or,
Oh, yeah.
yep, all
yeah.
of that. Oh, you're so beautiful. You're this, you're that. And then, boom, as soon as they know they have you, that's when they do that 360. They mind F you. And then you are like, what did I do? And then they're nice. And then they flip it again.
Right.
It's like you're dealing with two personalities, and then you have to come to the realization this person was never who you thought they were. And that's scary because that's literally comes with the term sleeping with a stranger.
Yeah.
Because you literally were with somebody that you don't know.
Oh, man.
You know who they are physically, but who they are as a human being, it was not who they said that they were.
Right.
You know, and that's the scary part for women.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's diseases, and there's so many reasons why I just don't date. Like,
I don't blame you.
it's scary.
I don't blame you.
And then you have kids, so like, you're not good. You have to be good enough for them. And how do I know that unless I allow you to meet them? And why would I want to do that?
I mean, you're going to bring a revolving door of different men in the
Hell
house. What is that
no.
teaching your daughter? What's that teaching your son?
No,
You don't want to be one of those. When your
No.
kids grow up, they're going to end up being on a podcast talking about mom have a revolving door of stepdads.
Yep.
You don't.
Yep. And
want that.
You don't want
why
that.
I feel bad for my ex, the person he's with now. I feel bad for that little girl
Yeah.
because that little girl did not get the chance to grieve her father.
Yeah.
Right now, she's got some strange dude that's on cocaine in her house.
Yeah. Exactly. And the toxicity that, because her mother has reached out to me talking about my ex is a cancer. How did you get rid of, like I said,
Oh my gosh.
I just chose my kids.
Yeah. Was there a catalyst to when you left? Like, what was or when you kicked him out? Like, was there a specific event that happened that you were like, I've started this journey into knowing who he clearly really is, but now it's like, fuck you, get out.
He was on a really bad binge, I guess, and his behavior was just out of control. And he was calling me names in front of my daughter, who was old enough to hear and understand. And I found drugs on him again. And that was my breaking point, I think. And breaking promises to them, too. Like, he would promise to do this with them and that with them. And would just break the promises. And then in the beginning, I was actually letting him come around whenever he wanted to see them, because I felt I didn't know, I was new to this whole
Co-parenting life.
co-parenting life, and I don't want to take, just because I can't stand him right now doesn't mean I take it out on my children and their relationship with their dad.
It's really big of you, by the way.
Well, it's their dad.
I know,
you know?
but not everybody's like that. There's
Well,
so much anger and resentments and a lot of breakups or divorce that the
Yeah.
parents take it out on
And
the
that's
kids are kind of
normal.
caught in the center.
Yeah, but we have to remember to put the kids first. You know.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's just not done often.
Well, there's the emotional immaturity thing that can come
That's
from
correct, yeah.
both sides, and I had to learn to be emotionally mature when it came to that.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I was letting him come around in the beginning, I set boundaries. Remember what we were talking about with the boundaries? I said, okay, when you come in, you cannot touch me. I did not know he was staying with this girl at the time. I said, you cannot touch me. There's no trying to get back with me. Do not act out in front of the children, or else I will make you leave. Do not break promises to them. I said, you get 3 strikes. So the first was around New Year's, and he came by, saw the kids, and then said, oh, I have to go do a job. I'll be right back. Natalia goes, no, don't leave. He goes, I promise I'll be right back. And I had his mom over too. I had her visiting from Miami. Never came back. She's blowing him up. My daughter's blowing him up. She's upset. She's crying, like wondering where her dad is. Find out he went out to the East Coast on the boat with his friends.
Drove all the way out to the East Coast.
So that was kind of strike 1.
Right.
And then the other time was I let him come over for dinner to have dinner with the kids. I didn't mind.
Right.
So I'm putting dishes, dinner's done. I'm washing the dishes. I'm putting them in the dishwasher, and I'm bending over to put in the dishwasher, and he tries to grab me. And I said, absolutely not. You don't touch me. None of that. And he's doing this in front of my daughter. And then he's like, see, Natalia, mommy doesn't want us to be a family.
Oh.
I said, okay, you have to leave now. So I made him leave, and it was a struggle to get him out of my house. And my 2 kids are crying because he's making a scene. They're both crying, not wanting him to leave. And I'm standing in between my children and the front door, to not let him back in. He's banging on the door. He goes, "See, Natalia, mommy doesn't love you. She doesn't want us to be a family. She doesn't love you." But that's him on drugs.
Okay.
That's drugs that makes him react that way. The him, he still like can be an asshole because of the, you know, the NPD, the narcissistic personality disorder, but not to that extent.
Do you think the drugs fuel his narcissism, or do you think
Absolutely.
the narcissism fuels his drug use?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that he can't get a hold of his emotional issues until he gets a hold of the drug issues, and vice versa.
Right.
I think it's a demon that feeds each other.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so hard for somebody like him to stop, especially that he was born on it. It's in his DNA.
Right.
So it was like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
What is his demeanor like when he's completely sober?
Calm, funny.
Does he still lie and
Oh
do
yeah.
all these
Oh
things?
yeah. No. He's always a liar. Like,
But just on like a muted level?
yeah. But he lies so much, like you would think he's being honest.
Probably just doesn't realize.
It's part of his problems. Like,
Yeah.
he has a lot of issues, but definitely lying is a major thing of his.
Telling the truth as a kid was probably painful because he'd probably get in trouble, or, you know, there's so many reasons why people get into these like cycles of just continuously lying over the tiniest little thing.
Oh yeah, he'll tell you the sky is green and the grass is
Right.
blue, and he will convince you.
Right.
Unless you go outside and actually look. And even when you look and you're like, the sky's clearly blue and the grass is green, he'll sit there and again keep trying to convince you why the sky is green and the grass is blue. Like, that's how crazy the lying is.
That's so weird.
I know you had said that you'd done like a lot of research after you had like finally kicked him out and just trying to understand like where his mind is and why he was the way that he was. Did you ever have like this like big aha moment when you were doing your research? You were like, "Oh my gosh, that is him. That explains so much." Like, do you ever have like you have a few you want to rattle off?
Oh my gosh, yeah, like the gaslighting, the breadcrumbing, the I love you too quick. Like, everything that I read down to a T was aha. Like, this, I feel like I'm literally reading his biography about him. And I think that if other women that are in this situation will start to read, they're going to have those aha moments too. Like, oh my God, this is who I'm living with. Because it is, he's textbook. And even when he did, I did convince him to go to a rehab. He went to a rehab. It was not for long. He left after like a week, but they psychoanalyze you there. So you do see a psychiatrist, and I have permission to speak to her. And he does have, this is why I'm saying, I'm not just saying he's a narcissist just to say it.
Because you read a book, right?
Yeah,
right.
no, he was diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, he had drug-induced psychosis when he went in. So that psychosis is what's really dangerous. Depression, which I knew, ADHD, which I knew, and other emotional disorders. So he does have a lot. And when you mix that with drugs, even the psychiatrist was like, this is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, it just highlights everything that he's already suffering from.
And it's dangerous because I know he would never put his hands on me. He would never be that stupid, nor do I think he has it in him.
But would cocaine up him do that?
Who knows? And
Right.
that's the thing. He started, this is why I had to get the restraining order, because after I told him, okay, you can't come by the house no more, period, until we go through the court and we could schedule suit. Everything's going to be done legally now. I had to do it under stalking, because there's only so much you can, when you get a restraining order, there's stalking, there's domestic, and he didn't hurt me physically, but he would just come to the house, bang on my door. I was even on the phone with my sister-in-law, his brother's wife, and his brother heard too, and him banging on the door, and they're like, "Christina, hang up and call the police right now."
Yeah.
Call the police right now. And I did. So anytime, and I was being serious. And of course, he turns it around on me. It's my fault.
Right.
How dare you? How
Just
could
trying
you?
to see my kids.
No, the kids weren't even there.
Oh.
How could you call the police on me? How could you do that? I was like, I warned you several times.
Right.
I said, we're not doing this manipulation thing. I warned you several times. If you keep coming by unannounced, uninvited, I'm going to call the police. And you took it upon yourself to do that. So whose fault is this that I called the police? My fault or your fault for not listening to what I told you?
Right.
You know, and it's like, I thank God for all the support that we had, because it sucks when I can imagine how many women are going through this and they don't have anybody.
Yeah.
I had my parents, I had his family, and I had, you know, like my daughter was going to elementary. I loved those people. At the time, she's no longer there, but the assistant principal that was there, I became good friends with her. She looked out for my daughter. Deputy Hall that works there is an amazing freaking human being. And he still to this day checks on us, calls once a week to check on us. And he gave me so much advice, and he told me how to handle things, what I need to do. And everybody there, they knew the situation, how embarrassing it is to talk about this.
Yeah.
And, you know, like going through all this. He even tried to get one of the employees there fired because he thought we were seeing each other.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But he's, mind you, has a whole nother relationship at this point. I'm not seeing anybody, but he tried to get this person fired. And it's like the real sick stuff, you know, like it got really out of hand for a while there. So that's what I want women to understand that are trying to get out of these situations. No, it's not easy. And when you do finally get them to leave, or you can leave safely, it doesn't end.
It's going to probably get worse before it gets better.
Oh, yeah. It gets a lot worse.
And like prepare for that and be okay knowing that that's coming.
Oh, and the smear campaigns that they play.
Yeah.
He says I cheated, never cheated once. He says I kicked him out because he worked too much. That's what he told people.
He didn't work at all.
He was going to work, but none of that money was coming home.
Right.
That was all going to drugs and partying. And then he said he was at work, but he was actually at strip clubs over on the East Coast. And
how do you drive to the East Coast and nobody knows?
I always thought he was working because I had the kids. I worked, went to the gym, and took care of the kids. That's all I did.
East Coast is like a minimum of 2 hours away, depending on where you're going to be.
Yeah, but that's where we're from, and so it was easy for him to get around, and he just wouldn't go to work sometimes and just go straight there.
That's crazy. I've never even considered that as an option for my day. To be like, I'm just going to hit Fort Lauderdale real quick.
No, that's
like,
where
never.
That's where his connections, a lot of his connections were too. And then the current girl he's with now would call me crying about him, telling me all the things he was
after
doing.
he was living there.
Yeah, after he was living there.
Oh boy.
And me and her were friendly.
Right.
Too, like before all this happened. And it's a lot of it's a lot. It's very messy. It was very, very messy. And
did you ever have to worry that you were like an accomplice? Like if he got caught?
No, because I didn't know the details or the extent of the truth of what she was telling me.
No, I mean not with her, but like when you guys were together and you knew that he was doing drugs, were you like worried that if he got arrested that you would be arrested too or something?
No, because I didn't know. I only would know he was on drugs when I find it on him, and then I would dump it. I didn't know how deep he was into it. Like he wasn't keeping it in my house. He had his own things, but if I found it on his pocket, like I would find it in his pockets. I wasn't enabling him. I would never give him money.
Yeah.
I would never, like, if he had drugs on him, he would have to leave the house immediately.
I didn't know if he had it in the house.
No.
Okay.
If I ever caught him with it in the house, I would kick him out. And that was there was a cycle. So he would come back a few days later apologizing. I'm done with it. I'm not doing it. So I never knew, because he was such a sporadic user at the time. I didn't know how bad and how deep it was until I saw it and found out. And that's when I was like, okay, this is done.
Were there signs that he was like on drugs? Like I know a lot of people when they do cocaine, there's like different signs. Everybody's different.
So he is different. Like he was able to eat more on it because again, he was born on it. So even the psychiatrist explained that his reactions would be a little different. I would know, and he would start willingly coming home and cleaning. Like he would clean on his own. And then we had a cat. And when he went to go clean the litter box, I was pregnant with my son. And I'm watching him and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm just trying to help you. You're pregnant. I want you to put your feet up. I know your feet are swollen. I'm like, okay. And I'm trying in my head not to accuse him of anything, but I'm just watching him. I'm like, oh, thanks. That's really sweet. But I'm watching him. He's going back and forth, cleaning, wiping things down. Then he goes into the bathroom and I hear him cleaning the litter box. I get up. I was like, no, he's high.
Yeah.
He must be high because he would never touch that litter box. I said, let me check your pockets. He's like, why? I go, I'm not stupid. I'm trying to sit here and appreciate what you're doing, but something's telling me I need to check your pocket. He puts his hands up. I feel his pocket's nothing. I go to grab the pocket on his shirt. He smacks my hand into his chest. I said, move your hand now. And I pull out a bag of cocaine and a straw. I said, really? And I go to dump it down the toilet. No, don't do that. I could take it back. I go, oh, really? Do you have a receipt? Are you gonna return it? Are you gonna go exchange it? Like what? No, I dumped it, and I made him leave the house. And I was like, no, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take it, pretend you're gonna go bring it back. I'm not stupid.
No, my God.
And you're gonna finish it in the car as you're driving, like. So no, I would never thought I would be an accomplice because I would never allowed that around the home. Like if I knew like the person he's with now and her husband's family, I guess, doesn't speak to her, which I think is wrong because of the kid. It's not the kid's fault, but she's an enabler. She would give him money for it. She would go on runs with him to get it. She admitted to me that she did it a couple of times with him because she wanted to, quote unquote, see what the big deal was, which I think is a big, horrible,
so stupid.
Stupid excuse.
Like, I'm not going to go smoke crack because I want to see what the big deal is. Like, there's certain things.
Yeah, no, it's just, it's because, again, it's a codependency. She's codependent. They're codependent on each other in different ways. She can't be alone. She doesn't love him. He doesn't love her. He's told me that. They don't love each other.
Right. They're using each other.
Yeah, they're using each other, basically. And nothing good comes from that either. So she would enable him just like she would enable the ex-husband by giving him money and whatever, allowing it, and whatever it was that was the case. I don't enable that. It's if I'm not giving you money, oh, you're hungry, I'll order you food. Even when we weren't together, he tried to call me to ask me for money for food. I said, I'll send you food. No, I don't want you to know where I am. Okay, well, then there's nothing I can do. I'm not sending you money. There's no way.
Right.
So that
but being a fallback plan, regardless if you're giving them actual monetary money or you're paying for stuff to help them, kind of is enabling, helping them in any way not hit bottom on their own.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's not as bad as like, yeah, here's $300 to pay your phone bill.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that. I mean, that's definitely enabling, but yeah, helping in any way to help keep them from hitting complete rock bottom.
No, you're absolutely right. And I wasn't looking at it that way, but you saying that is absolutely correct. But I always told him, I was like, I'll never deny you food. If you ever need food, that's fine. But no, you're right.
Well, you're a compassionate human being, and that's the hardest part. When people say, not to enable somebody on drugs, this is the father of your kids, like
it's hard.
You can't just let them not have food, right? Or not have a car to get to work or whatever it may be. But as hard as it is, it's one of those things that you just have to say, I'm giving you absolutely nothing.
Yeah, just cut them off. Yep. No, you're right.
That's the best way to say I love you.
No, you're right.
It sucks,
I didn't look at it. The food part is enabling, but you're absolutely right. Is to let them hit.
Sucks, doesn't it?
It does suck. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because he's still relying on you. He's still going to come back and know at least he's got a meal paid for.
Well, it wasn't even for the food. He wanted drugs because he was staying with her.
Of course, of course.
He wanted the cash.
Of course, and he's not going to take you up on the food because he doesn't actually want the food. He's not hungry. He's hungry for cocaine. He's not hungry for a cheeseburger. Right.
Like I said, it's just a messy scene, and and I feel bad for the kid, and because again, they don't ask to be here.
No, and that's the hardest part. The poor kid.
It's very selfish.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, your marriage, the husband was toxic, but he loved that little girl, and to go, to not allow your child to properly grieve, and for you not to grieve with her. And then you just move this other toxic human being, just as toxic, into your life around your kid when she didn't even get a chance to heal. I just feel, to me, that's a form of abuse.
Have you ever considered calling DCF to see if she can get maybe placed with the mom's parents or something?
I haven't. I felt like that was the mom, because her mother, the girl, the new victim's mother, to do, because she has reached out to me, like not knowing what to do with him, and I said, look, I got away from him. He's not even allowed around his own kids right now, so I told her the best advice I can give you is to protect your granddaughter and do what you have to do to get her out of that situation. Not saying the girl doesn't love her daughter.
No, but she's stuck in a place where she can't love her daughter fully right now.
Yeah, well, because if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Right. And to allow yourself to go through that and put yourself and your child in that situation, you don't love yourself.
No, and if her daughter did get placed with, a grandparent or something temporarily, maybe this is the kick in the ass that this woman needs to get herself out of these revolving door of bad relationship after bad relationship and getting her shit together so she can then love her daughter fully as she deserves to be loved.
Exactly.
I hope that, I don't want any kid to be taken away from their parent.
God,
however, there's certain times where it's the best option for now.
Yeah, even if it's because I don't believe it's a physically abusive environment at all, but she does have her own issues. Like when my ex pretended to go missing to try to hurt everybody, and I can't find him, and his mom's worried, his family's worried, everybody's like thinking he's dead or overdosed or something. So I know they're together. So I was like, have you heard from him? She claims she never heard from him. She acted really worried and concerned, acted like she was helping us look for him. Turns out the whole time he was with her in the house.
That's crazy.
And it's like, just say, yeah, he's here. He's just being an ass. Or just say, no, you know what, he's here, and explain to him, I can't do that to your family that's worried sick about you. But to play along with it, to pretend to help us look for him, to the concern in the voice is what really set it off for me. Yeah. Like, to me, that's sick. That's like a sick thing to do. I mean, there's always when I confronted her about it, there's always an excuse. Like my ex, there's always, I told him to call you guys. No, that's not good enough. He wasn't going to do that, and you knew that. You knew where he was.
Right.
You just should have said something instead of just say, I don't know. Don't play along like you're helping us look for him.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird choice to make.
It's sick. And then, even like when I confronted her about the fact that this was towards the end, I guess, of our relationship when they started seeing each other, but she still knew. And she's like, well, I didn't know. He told me that you guys weren't together anymore. I said, it doesn't matter at this point. I'm not mad at you. I just don't like being lied to. And you and I knew each other and we spoke. All you had to do was ask me.
Right.
But you didn't want to.
Right.
Because you knew.
But isn't that like girl code? Like, don't be with somebody else's.
Somebody like that doesn't follow girl code.
I know, but you would think like
somebody that does that can't be alone and that is selfish enough to bring all this stuff around their child. They don't care about girl code or any of that. They care about themselves in that moment. So it's like, I get it and I understand it and I feel bad for her, and she's not a bad person either.
Right. She's just lost too.
Mm-hmm. And she's got it. The only way for her to value herself is to actually start valuing herself and be alone and take the time to grieve and be there for your child and build yourself up. Get yourself out of that hole. Right. We all have to do it. And it's not easy and it's not pretty, but it's worth it. Because I can't tell you like how much happier I am. Business is going better. I have more positive outlook. I love myself. I'm organized. My children are everything. And I'm in a happy, healthy place mentally and physically now.
How did you explain this to your kids? What was the process in telling them that, their dad's not going to be around as much? How did that go?
Well, I sat them both down, even though I still have to explain it to my son because he's only 4 and at the time he was like 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'd let them know, Daddy loves you very much and so do I, but Daddy's sick and he's not well and he's got a lot of stuff that he has to do before he can come back around. So you guys just have to be patient and just know that it's not your fault and it's not my fault and it's not Daddy's fault. Daddy had a lot of horrible things happen to him as a child. He has a different life. You guys have a lot of love in your life and he didn't have that growing up. So now he has to go get better. And that's just how I have. My daughter understands.
Right.
My son being 4 till this day, misses his dad terribly, and it has affected his behavior a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a therapist that works with him 5 hours a day, 5 days a week at school, and he's made a lot of improvement. But what he'll tell kids randomly is, "My daddy's sick. He hit his head."
No,
that's what he said. Because when my son asks me, "Is Daddy sick in the hospital?" I say, "No, Daddy's more like sick in his mind." So that's where he thinks he hit his head and he's sick.
Mm-hmm. It's understandable.
I mean, that's kind of cute. Like,
he
hit his head.
Well, I don't know how else to explain it.
I think that's a perfect way to explain it. It's age appropriate and you're being honest, but you're not too forthcoming with details that they can't understand or should know.
Yeah, and that's very wise of you too, because unfortunately in my life I've had a family who have just dumped things on me, the personal stuff that they were going through that as a person of my age should have never been privy to.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, bringing adult problems to a child.
It's trying to decrease the amount of trauma, because my daughter saw a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's trying to take that, explaining to her why those things happen and explain to her the illnesses and the sicknesses. Like, she's older, she's very mature for her age, and she does understand a lot, and she loves her dad, and she's supportive of him trying to get better. And I, once in a while now, because he has been doing really good, I let them speak over the phone once in a while, and it's monitored. And like, if he wants to talk to her when he's with my mom, somebody has to be sitting there and monitoring it. and he's been pretty good with the boundaries and being respectful towards that. My son, he cannot, because my son's too young. He wouldn't understand, what the conversations are limited. Like, he wouldn't understand that dynamic of the boundary, and it would just set him back. But my daughter is very much like, hey, Daddy, I'm glad you're getting better. And she's like, I hope you keep getting better. Like, she gets it.
What does he think of the dad is sick? I imagine that he probably doesn't. Does he know that that's what you tell the kids? Mm-hmm. And what does he think of that? Does he agree with that?
Yeah. No,
okay.
He does. All right. And he even said he's not ready to be around them.
Okay.
And
so maybe that is growth.
It is growth. It is. Even when I had to go to court for him for the violation, I told the judge, like, do you want to say anything? And I was like, yes. I said it right in front of him. I said, he's a good person. He's not a bad person, but he makes bad choices and he does bad things when he's on drugs, and he's somebody that needs help. This is a perfect example of the system failing a child. This is the product of that. And he needs help, and he can't do it on his own. And I would love for him to have a relationship with the children once you, as the court, tell me and get a medical professional to say, okay, he's ready to have supervised visitations. Then I'm all for it. Baby steps. But my kids will never go to their house, because what they have going on is way too toxic. Mm-mm. And I'm not, for that, I would have kept him with me, right? If you're going to see all that toxic crap,
right,
you might as well be home for that. So there is growth there from him, but it's because he's a part of this program. He's getting drug tested. He has to see a probation officer. He's complying with what's asked of him. My thing is, let's see where you're at after the program, where you're not obligated to do any of these things.
Right.
And that's, time will tell.
I mean, I got to give you a ton of credit, dude. You stood in front of a judge and said, don't send him to jail for violating the restraining order. Mm-hmm. Is this why he was in court, right?
Oh, I was happy when he did it, because I've been wanting to force him into a program.
But I think it's so awesome of you to say, like, he needs a program. He is a result of the failed system. I mean, that's really awesome. You could have just said, no, get him out of our life, and then you can heal without him here. He can be in jail or whatever. But
well, he's not a monster. He's just...
Right, but do you know how many people would be angry and resentful and want to just get back?
I am. I have those thoughts. I'm human. I have those thoughts. This is a part of healing, though, but I keep those emotions to myself.
Yeah.
And I do it alone, and I can think what I want. And like, sometimes I talk to my best friend Jojo. I'm like, he's such a piece of this what.
Motherfucker.
Yep, he's such a piece of shit, and what a deadbeat. And I let it out that way. I never do it in front of my kids, and I would never take it out on him in life.
I know, but that's huge. I've never met anybody that would do that.
I had to learn to be emotionally mature.
Yeah.
And it comes down to what's best for my children.
I think it's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's because I love my kids, man. Like, I will always care about him. He's a human being, but it all stems from my love for my children. That,
right.
This is how they should be. I want them to be these amazing humans. I want them to be good people and understanding and smart and emotionally mature, so they never I'll go through it all over again if it means that they don't have to.
Right.
They're going to know. When they become adults, they're going to know what a healthy relationship.
You should write this stuff down, because giving a lot of times you forget all of that, what you've been through or what you've done for your kids. And if you wrote this down.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I was going to say, you can just give it to your kid one day, your daughter, especially, or in your son too. I mean, to see as an example of what not to be as a boy, and as a girl, like an example of what a strong and courageous mom I had, and what an example to give her.
That's a good idea. I started writing it down, not because of that, but I'm going to switch it to that. I started writing it down to remember, because a lot of times when you come out of a narcissistic, abusive relationship, your memory is really bad.
Oh, yeah, because they try to weave, they try to spin the story on you so many times, and now you're like dizzy.
And you can read, and there's so many videos talking about how it does affect you mentally, and it affects your memory. I write it down to remind myself of why I left, so he can never, ever, no matter how great he gets, he'll never be able to wiggle his way back in that way.
Because it would probably be so easy.
Yeah, because it's easy to forget, and because of what you went through. And you have to remind yourself it's not your fault. Was I perfect? Absolutely not.
Right.
Nobody is.
Right.
I know I have a temper. I get annoyed very easily, but
Same girl.
but I loved him with all my heart. I
Yeah.
never cheated on him. I was always there for him. I supported him, and I always uplifted him and told him, you could do anything. You could be anything, and I'm here to help you and push you, but you can't be this if you're doing this.
Right.
You know, you can't be both.
Right.
And you know, it's just I want my kids, and I am going to start writing it down. I'm going to make them like a book. My daughter resented me for a while until she stumbled. Even no matter how I explained it to her, I just let her. I said, that's fine. Like, she was angry with me that, you know, it's my fault. Oh, and then it's my parents' fault. It's because my ex will put this in her head that it's Mima hates him, which my mom never hated him. She hated what he was doing.
Of course.
You know, my dad loved him like a son. And my dad tried to help him because my dad's from the streets. You know, he's born in Puerto Rico, raised in the Bronx in New York. My dad knows, and he tried to help him.
Right. Probably ran into a million guys like him.
Oh, yeah. My uncles were those guys,
Right.
you know, and it's just my dad loved him so much. But when it comes to the grandkids, he's going to choose those grandkids,
Of course.
you know. So, you know, with Natalia, my daughter, she resented me for a while until I got her an iPad for Christmas. iPad's connected to my phone, right? I don't know how to work an iPad. I don't know how to take my text messages. I was trying to do it. I got frustrated. I say, you know what? It really doesn't matter. I don't have anything coming into my phone that she can't see. It's text messages between me and friends, family, clients. Nothing in there. I don't date. Nothing in there risque or gross or whatever.
Right.
So I didn't care. I left it alone. He out of nowhere texted me. I guess he was on like a binge. This was a while ago. Said all these terrible, terrible, terrible things. Like, it was a lot. It was like word vomit, how horrible I am, this and that. And I replied to him with, okay, I'm sorry that you feel that way. You know that that's not true. I didn't abandon you. I'm sorry that you feel that way. You want a relationship with your kids. Great. You won't have that with me in a romantic way, but you can still have a relationship with your kids. Go do the work. Don't text me when you're on a binge.
Right.
And that's all I said. She saw them.
Mm-hmm.
She saw them. And I wasn't even thinking about it. And she comes up to me. She goes, Mommy, I'm sorry. And she hugged me. And she's like, you're the best mom in the world. I said, why? I said, well, I love this, but why?
Yeah, what do you want?
Yeah, what do you want? That's why I thought she wanted something. What do you want me to buy on Amazon? Right. What did you see in a YouTube video? So she's like, I saw what Daddy said to you. And I said, oh.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to explain that to you. She goes, no. She goes, that's what you meant by he's sick. I said, yeah.
What a smart little girl.
She's very smart. Very, very smart. I said, I don't want you to be mad at your daddy. She goes, I'm not. I said, he loves you. She goes, I know. And I said, okay, I just want you to know he loves you. I'm glad you're not mad at me anymore, but don't be mad at him either.
Yeah.
He's going to get better one day. She goes, I know.
No.
And then that was basically, and she's hugged me, and that was it. And she does not talk about her emotions, this kid. Like, that was a big problem after he left. She was very closed and wouldn't talk about how she was feeling. But I'm glad she saw it. At the time I wasn't, but thinking about it, I'm glad she saw it because now she understands, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she handled it very much like she's not mad at him.
Right.
She loves him. She's not mad at me. She just understands, you know, and I speak life into them, like what you were saying about writing this book so they know what not to be.
Yeah.
And I tell my son every day, one day you're going to be such a wonderful man. You're going to be kind and strong and caring and loving and successful. And I tell my daughter the same thing. I tell them this. We go through this affirmations every morning and every night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes it just...
Oh, yeah. See, and it's also normal to be annoyed by your children.
Oh, I get annoyed by them, especially that little one, boy. He's feral. You know, that's a walking middle finger.
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
I love that.
In fact, he
They
flicked
are.
me off yesterday. He flicks me off.
Oh my god.
Yes. He goes, hey, Mommy, and he does this with both hands.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, why?
Where do you learn this?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. And then he's humping things. Yeah, he's been doing really good in school now with the therapy, but then he had a day where he was like just humping his friends, and I'm like, why are you being the class diddler?
Oh, no.
Like, we're not being Diddy. You can't do this. Like, you're not doing this.
I mean, part of the exploration is normal.
No, he thinks it's funny.
Okay.
He's doing it because he thinks it's hilarious. And I'm like, who'd you learn this from? And he says some kid's name.
Yeah, it's probably somebody at school.
I'm like, don't.
You always
do
blame
that.
the somebody at school. Hopefully he's not the somebody from
No,
school.
he better. Well, no, they said he's not. Like they said he's not. But I'm like, you know what? Don't do that. Weird kids do that. Don't do that again.
I mean, when you're adults and you're fucking around, it is kind of funny, but
It
not
is.
when you're 7.
When you're an
But even
adult,
as
How
an
old? No,
adult,
he's
you can't
4.
just
He's
ra-
4, right?
Yeah, so
Okay.
he's 5 in
he's party
April.
boring people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Party boy.
Well, could you imagine being at a bar and just watching some dude just go around humping people?
Yeah, Party Boy.
Party
He was
Boy.
from Jackass, right?
Yeah.
Oh my
He had a
God.
jock strap and he would, right?
wore
No, it was
that,
a thong.
It was that thong, like silver Speedo that only like covered the front little
Yeah.
Oh my
dingleberries.
God.
Yeah.
Oh,
was
I
it.
remember that.
And he had the
And he would-
boombox.
they would film him going down like random streets,
Was
coming
that
up to
Steve-O?
people, and just
It was like, no, it wasn't Steve-O, but it was somebody.
forget.
It was somebody on Jackass.
it was
So funny.
showing our age.
Yeah. If somebody is in a narcissistic relationship and they're starting to like come to the realization that they're with a narcissist, what are the first steps that they can do to get out of it? Like, how did you, like, to not only kick them out, but then what?
So it just depends on the situation. Because for me, I was lucky in
Yeah.
a way that my ex was a broke narcissist.
Okay.
So it was me that had everything. Like the apartment was in my name, and
Like, you'll be fine without him.
yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, I saved money once. Like even though I went through a bunch of other things, like with my business after, I still like he was a whole other expense, like having a whole nother child and human
Yeah.
to care for financially. But there's women that are in a worse situation. Like I have a friend that is going through the whole divorce process now, but he has money. And narcissists with money are way worse because they will use that money to hurt you. And they will do things legally just to hurt you. Even if they don't care about the child so much, they want to take the child from you to hurt you.
Right.
So the way I left was I just woke up one day. It's like hard to explain. Like I just woke up and I said, that's it. You have to leave. Like it's done. And it's hard to explain, but it's like you just have to wake up. And then the beginning of it is either you leave or you make them leave. If they won't leave, you pack up and you go.
Right.
Whether you go to a friend, you go to a family member's house, but just know when you do this, you cannot turn back because you
Yeah.
cannot keep putting your family and friends through the cycle with you. The toxic cycle of, oh, come help me. Yes, your friends are going to help you. Your family's going to help you, but they can't do it, 5 times in 1 month.
Right.
So it's like when you leave, you need to be damn sure that you are ready. And
Yeah.
it takes a while, but I feel like when you know, you know.
Yep. And you had mentioned that you had read a bunch of stuff to kind of research this and kind of figure out that this is what he is. What are the resources that what books did you read? Or
So I found articles online. I Googled narcissistic abuse, how to tell if you're in a narcissistic abusive relationship, symptoms of narcissists and narcissistic abuse. And then I Googled how to heal, how to get
Yeah.
away. Like just, and there's so many articles out there. All you have to do is just search them.
Yeah. I'm wondering if at the beginning you had mentioned that it's more prevalent today that people are, in narcissistic relationships. I'm wondering if it's because our culture now is more focused on mental health and bringing things forward. And, because I'm trying to think of like my grandmother's time, back in the 50s. There were probably plenty of narcissistic men. But
Women had no say.
they had no say and no choice.
Yeah, it was normal.
Right. And it's just like, oh, that's just who he is. He's out working, I'm staying home, and he cares for everything. And they don't really have an opportunity to, I guess, use their voice and leave. If you don't have a job and you're being taken care of, and there's not really a big welfare system to help in the event that you have
and
to
I think
leave.
there's a lot of shame too in leaving,
there
especially
Absolutely.
back then, like from your friends and your family. Like you'll be the talk of the town.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have to be prepared for that because regardless, even today, people are going to talk about you. They're going to talk about your situation. They're going to talk about the relationship. They're going to judge. Like single moms get judged all the time with people not knowing the backstory of it.
Right.
And you have to be prepared to go through that. And you have to be prepared to be like, I don't give a fuck what you got to say because you're not taking care of my children. You're not paying my bills. You didn't have to go through what I went through, and I'm doing something about it.
Right.
So, yeah, so people, those women that are going through what I went through, you have to be prepared for that, and you're going to have to just be okay. And it's okay. You have to be strong, but it's okay not to be strong all the time.
Right.
it's okay to cry. Like I had to teach, that was part of my healing. I felt so weak every time I cried.
Yeah.
Every time I was alone, and I didn't let my kids see it, but every time I had my moment, I felt so weak and stupid and powerless, but I had to realize that that's okay as long as you don't sit in it.
But I almost feel like it's okay to cry in front of your kids sometimes too, because that teaches them that this is not easy. You know, it teaches them that sometimes crying is okay.
No, the type of crying that this was not
that
good.
ugly cry.
It was ugly. It was new. It was fresh, and they were they were going through it too. I didn't want them to see me.
I understand that.
To see me crack, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted them to understand, like, my job at the moment was to be there for them.
Yeah.
And so like now, like it's okay if they see you cry, but there's this beginning stage that you're going to go through that it's indescribable until you go through it. And it's just, there's a lot of hurt and anger. And it's just something I didn't want my kids to see in that moment.
That makes sense.
You know,
I mean, especially once you come out of it a little bit and you're kind of a little bit stronger as a person, you know, showing just a sliver of that vulnerability to your kids shows that you are human, because when they go through things, they don't want to feel, I would never want my kids to feel less than because they feel weak because they're crying, because mom never cried. Mom was way too strong. Why can't I be like that? Yeah. But yet we're crying, you know, in our bed at night and not telling anybody.
I know.
You know, and it almost like normalizing.
They see me cry over like
human
animal, like over other things.
Yeah.
When it came to their dad, it's just such a hard thing. It's just a hard subject I want them to know that I'm here for them and their emotions when it comes to him.
Right.
Like they see me cry.
Place.
Yeah.
You're a safe place.
Yeah. Cause it was hard. And like, there's times I still get sad cause I think about everything we could have had he not done what he did.
Right.
And where we would be right now.
Or if he had been the person that you thought he was.
That. Yeah.
And listening to your story, I truly feel like you were put in his life for a reason. Like, I don't think he would be getting better had he not met you. Because and thinking like from his perspective, like as a man, I know obviously I can't like fully put myself there, but like seeing you now, I don't know what you were like at the time that you met him.
Weak.
But like if you were anything like you are now, like I would have been a scared shitless to like even approach you, because you're just, I feel like a guy like that who's so insecure would be like, whoa, this chick she's got her shit together. Right. Like she's strong. She's headstrong. She's, you know, smart. Like I can't mess with her.
Oh, right. I get called masculine. Like I get hit on if I go, like I rarely go out, but when I do, this was probably one of the worst ones. I don't entertain this stuff either. And this guy I was with my best friend JoJo. It was like the first night I went out as a single person. I was ready to go out, not to meet anybody, just to get out, to get out with my best friend and just kind of be a little free. Yeah. And we were downtown, and this guy and his two friends, we're at Social House, you know, where that we were over there. And this guy and his two friends were trying to talk to us. I'm like, I'm so uninterested and so like not wanting to deal with it. And the guy that was trying to talk to me is like, wow, you seem really mean. I said, I am. And he's like, the conversation led to him talking about, I have 3 babies, mamas, and 3 kids, and I take care of all
sexy.
Yeah.
And I'm really going to jump at you now.
Yep.
Great.
And he's like, and I take care of all of them, and you just need a man. I said, oh my God, can I please be number 4? Like super sarcastic. Super sarcastic. And he was like, wow. He's like, you're real masculine. That's your problem. And I looked at him and I was like, well, one of us has to be, because like, you're real feminine. So. Yeah. But that, like, the thing is, I get called masculine by weak men.
That's right.
And it's like, when you're a single mom and you pay bills by yourself and you raise kids by yourself and you do everything by yourself, you have to have some level of masculinity that's higher. You have to. And it's like, this is like, I hate when men tell women that they're masculine because they have boundaries and they have expectations, and
it's like a dig
at themselves, because it's like, you know, you're not it.
Well, they're trying to dig at you.
Yeah, but it just shows their weakness.
That's right.
Like, that's another thing, like why dating is so scary for women, because if you don't behave the way they feel you should, then you're masculine, or you're this and you're that, and it really just stems from them being weak men. Right.
I mean, you need to find eventually, maybe when your kids are older or something, if you ever find anybody, it's going to have to be somebody that is not threatened by your success or your boundaries or
Right,
anything.
'cause
And there are people out
I think
there.
that your qualities are like super attractive.
For sure.
Thank you.
Like, and I'm totally hetero, but I think like if I were a
Absolutely.
man, I'd be like, damn, this chick is hot. Like,
Yeah.
and in your personality, I don't know.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I totally agree with you. I think that that's why a lot of women are trying to stay single, especially if they're mothers, single moms. They want to be single because it's so hard to find a guy who's secure in themselves enough to let their woman be anything other than, okay, just meek.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not that like my ex he used to tell me, you're not the same anymore. And I'm like, good.
I don't want to be.
And then I see women talking about things that they're going through, and they're like, I'll never be the same after this. And I'll comment only when I don't like commenting. I don't like the Facebook, social media stuff. But if I feel like I should say something, I do. And I always will say, you don't want to be the same anymore. That girl needs to be dead, because that girl will put up with that shit over and over and over, just a different face and different name.
That girl's the one that attracts that shit. You don't want to be that anymore.
No, you need to be stronger, and you need to be more awake and not stand for it, because my kids, and that's the other thing, the molestation that goes on, you don't know who these guys are that you're bringing around your children.
Yep.
They may come off amazing, but then your daughter comes to you and says, so and so did this to me. Well, now I have to go to prison because so and so touched you, and it's my fault for bringing so and so into the child's life.
Right.
If you're a good person or a good parent and don't have your head in the sand, because a lot of people will put their head in the sand and be like, they love me, they would never touch my child, my kid's just mad that I'm dating somebody else, or whatever reason,
That would piss me off.
that happens a lot though.
Yeah, but
so many people are not believed when they're little.
Well, there goes with my whole theory is, some people just shouldn't have children.
Right.
If you have a child, if you want to have children, you have to really think about, am I willing to put this human before every single thing?
Yeah.
Above myself, what I want, what I need, what makes me happy. You have to be willing to do that, because they don't ask to be here. We bring them here. We brought them here. So it's our job to protect them in every, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. And my kids, one thing, yes, I yell. I can be a bad mom where
You're
yell.
a passionate person. How about that?
No, just put your damn toys away. Because it's like, I ask you 5 times in a row, I'm going to yell on the 6th time.
Once
We're going to
you
go
snap.
right back to that. We are human.
Yes,
That's
we
right.
are human.
We're human.
And they may remember me as yelling and, whatever, but they're always going to know that I love them. I love them far beyond myself. I love them far beyond anything in this world. And there's no man on this earth that is worth choosing over my children. And if I'm going to ever even consider, entertain the idea of bringing a man in my life, you better love my kids more than you love me. And that's it.
Right. That's what I never understood about like step parents, or that whole thing. If you don't choose, going into this relationship or marriage that this person has children, you better love them like they are your own. And if you're not willing to do that and treat them the same as you would treat your own kid, or if you have kids already, the way you treat your own kid, you have no business being in that marriage or relationship. I never understood that.
It goes with being selfish, just like when a woman brings a piece of shit man into her life, and then she sees he's a piece of shit, but she still allows him to be around her and the child. It goes with being selfish. A man that is not going to treat the child as his own wants the woman,
right?
Wants her body. He just wants her body. If you aren't going to love the kid, you're just after one thing. You're after whatever's going to benefit and suit you in that moment, and you don't care about that woman or that child. You care about what you want at that time. It just goes with the selfish characteristics. Men and women. And it's the same thing, that the women that bring that has this revolving door and continues, and then they want to say, oh, well, I don't understand. No, you do understand. You got to love yourself before anybody else is going to love and respect you. If you don't respect yourself, how am I going to respect you if you don't respect yourself? And that's what men think when they look at women. You're going to let me jump into bed with you on the first night? Why would I respect you? You don't respect yourself. They don't have to.
Right.
They will do what we allow them to do.
Well, as Dr. Phil says, you teach people how to treat you.
That's very true.
I think I've brought Dr. Phil up about 10 times so far on this podcast. And she rolls her eyes at me every time.
You want to cash her outside?
Yeah. It's so funny.
I have a Facebook friend who's weirdly obsessed with Dr. Phil. She actually got on the show.
Listen, Dr.
She
Phil
posts
says
about
some
it.
really
She
good
posts
stuff.
about him all the time. It's almost like I don't know. He's like a father figure or something to her. It's kind of weird.
Well, yeah, that is weird. But, you know, sometimes he says some really like deep shit and you're like, oh, fuck.
Some
you
mic
know?
drops for sure.
And, you know, however you think of him or whatever, some of the stuff that he has and you know, in his arsenal of advice is sound.
No, I agree.
And
I agree.
he's very, you know, he can be very smart in some ways.
Maybe this will reach Dr. Phil one day.
Yeah, come on our podcast, Dr. Phil.
I can be Dr. Phil.
There you go.
Should send the ex over there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about his show too is, you know, he just really lays into people and tells them like it is, and it's like, oh shit.
Him and,
I know, I've
him and
seen
Judge
that.
Judy, like from our
Judge
area.
Judy is great.
I just got into that show Good Girls. I don't know if you watched it. So obsessed with it. Not here. Oh, here we go. So,
Good Girls.
Here we
Hold
go.
on.
Isn't that the one with Zoe Deschanel or whatever? That show?
No, that's New Girl.
That's New
such
Girl.
a cute
Wrong
show.
one. Wrong one.
No, so this is about, and I can relate to this. It's about three moms. They grew up together. Two of them are sisters, and the other one is their best friend that they grew up with. They're having a bunch of financial issues. One's about to lose the house. The husband's a cheater. You know, one does not have her shit together at all, and then the other one, her daughter has like kidney failure. She needs $80,000 for a new kidney. What do? They go and fucking rob a grocery store.
Oh, it's the one, the lady with the bright red hair.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen the
Everybody's
commercials.
obsessed with Rio. Let me tell you something. That is the most toxic shit I've ever seen. And the way women are romanticizing that relationship tells me so much. There's something wrong with our society because the dude is abusive. He's held a gun to her face several times. They're not together, but they've slept together. It's a mess. And the way, like, when I see, like, that's what drew me to watch the show is because of, like, the clips you see on Facebook. It's like, oh, this looks interesting. But you read the comments about, oh, he's so this, he's so that. Oh, get in the car, Elizabeth. All this shit. It's like she's literally just he's telling her to get in the car.
What is this on?
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's a great show, though. But everybody is romanticizing this toxic situation between Rio and Elizabeth.
As they do. I mean, I can't tell you how many shows that I've been like obsessed with. And when you really look at it logically, you're like, oh my God, that relationship's horrible.
It's awful. But like, it's like once you get your eyes open to certain shit, you look at everything like, that's a
Run,
little,
girl, run.
Yeah, run. That's real bad. Like,
Yeah.
But if you watch The Good Girls, you'll see what I'm talking about. That is not a relationship at all. In fact, it's sick.
Right. Did you ever see Yellowstone?
I want to so
I
bad.
it's so
started it and
good.
it was such a boring start. I'm like,
No, I
can't.
started it like 4 times and then you get into it. I was going to make a comment. There's another character, red hair, named Beth on that show.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And the guy that's like madly in love with her,
Her husband, right?
Oh, Retta.
he's been
is in this.
pining for her since they were children. But he's so respectful and knows her crazy.
She's toxic.
She's fucking toxic
Yeah.
and she's crazy. And he's the only person in her life that like holds space for that and like loves her through it. And you like romanticize it, but at the same time, when you're like kind of an outsider, like when you're really like looking at it from a logical human or a logical adult perspective, you're like, dude, get the fuck away from this bitch. She's nuts. What are you doing?
She's unwell.
Yeah, very unwell.
I could see that because I've seen, like, I want to watch that show too. It's on Paramount Plus,
Yeah,
I think.
it's so good.
I have to get that app.
It's so good.
But I'm going to it's definitely on my list. But I have
But
seen
she's
the clips.
unhinged.
I
She
see
is
that.
unfucking hinged, and he like loves her through it. And it's like, as a woman, you're like, oh my God, he will like take care of her till his dying day. He sees her crazy and does not.
We all
care.
have a little crazy, but there's
Sure.
there's an
But
there's
it's-
an amount. There's a line.
How much could this one person take? That's not
Yeah.
fair to him. At what point is it
No.
unfair to him?
Exactly. 'Cause it's abusive.
It is so abusive, but he's so mentally stable that maybe it's not abusive. You
There's a
know?
really good real clip that comes from that show where it's talking about he's like, I forget what he says, but he's like I love you, but I can't deal with you right now or something. And
Yeah.
the tagline is always like, my husband when I'm unhinged or when I'm going off the rails or whatever. I gotta find it. It's really
But
funny.
he like
so cute.
does just deeply care for her, and that's sweet.
That's what I heard. I read that, but I have seen her videos, and I was like,
She's fucking insane.
yeah, she looks like it. She looks like she don't take no shit either.
No,
which
she
is-
does not take no shit. She's the only girl in a family of her mom. Their mom died, and she's the only girl in in the family, and she's hard as shit. She'll
Sounds
fuck
like
you up.
Sounds like she has to be. I saw
Yeah,
the one with
yeah.
the beer where the girl's trying to hit on her husband.
Right.
I guess, and she smacked her in the head with a beer.
Yeah, she don't give a fuck.
She doesn't.
But he's like so gentle, but he's like this gentle guy who would do anything and protect his family.
That's that hot masculinity.
And
Fast
it's like he's
and
not cute in the show, but his masculinity and it's a quiet masculinity. He's super secure with himself, and it's so attractive.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's hot. I mean, the
Dude.
glasses with the cowboy hat and shit.
Yeah, but
I'm not attracted to cowboys, but that's hot.
I mean, I am when it's a quiet masculinity. Mm-hmm. All I know is that it's something about the way he just keeps her safe, because she gets in her own way with everything.
Yeah.
You know, her actions and her choices get her in big trouble, and he just
I find that's normal though with people that are mentally unstable, is that they get in their own way, and that's part of their problem. Like they self-sabotage.
Yep.
My
Hey,
ex
we
does
brought
that.
it back around. Good job, you
I
guys.
know, there we go.
No, it's true though. Like my ex self-sabotage. Like he's very smart. He had an AC company that he had started making great money, and then it all went up his nose and to strippers and to alcohol. And then it's like you sabotage your own happiness and your own success.
Right, by these temporary fixes.
Because you cannot handle stress.
Yeah,
And handle emotion. And when things get too stressful, that's what you run to.
That's
And
right.
You got to find a different outlet that's healthy. I love the gym. Or I watch a show that I like, or I listen to affirmation video, or I read this affirmation books that I bought that I really like off Amazon. And you just got to find a healthier outlet.
right. Yeah, I wish I loved the gym.
The hardest part is getting started. Once you do it, you get addicted because it releases endorphins.
That's true, but I've never started long enough to get addicted.
You got to give yourself 2 solid weeks.
Yeah.
2 solid, consistent weeks.
I worked out consistently for 3 months with a trainer, and I hated every single time I would have to work out.
What were you doing?
Once I was done working out, I felt really proud of myself and I felt really great, but getting to do it is very difficult.
What were you doing, like HIIT, or were you doing like strength training?
I was doing a lot of strength training. I was doing a lot of lifting, and then I don't do cardio. I hate cardio.
You don't have to do cardio.
So
hate
I was
cardio, too.
doing that, and so I did really, really good with it. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing my numbers, my weights go up, you know, as far as like what I was able to do, like what I was able to do at the end of month 3 versus what I was able to do on day 1.
Oh, yeah.
Vastly different.
Oh, yeah.
And it was great. It was really cool to see those, you know, small wins every week. I could increase my weight.
And you feel
It was
strong.
cool. Yeah. And then I just couldn't afford it anymore. And without that external motivation and somebody to kind of be my accountability buddy, I was like, oh, I could do this myself.
You
can't
can. I
afford
use
it.
ChatGPT.
So do I. Do you know how many meal plans I've got? Do you know how many workout plans I've got? All these things.
Oh, you got to follow Michaela Thomas for your meals on Instagram. I use all her stuff. I have my clients. It's easy. My kids like it. It's all air fryer, crock pot, or the oven.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Tastes bad for you.
Yeah,
but
right
it's
now I'm
What's her name?
Michaela Thomas.
All right, I'm looking it up.
right now I'm on. I rehired that coach. He's got an 8-week challenge. It's a group challenge. So we've got like a private Facebook group, and so it's cool to have other people kind of in the group instead of one-on-one coaching this time. And this challenge isn't so much about working out. That's part of it. But it's not the majority. It's not the meat of it. It's about getting your nutrition under control and picking things that are good for you and staying within, you know, in a calorie deficit. And because since my daughter's accident, I've just given up on me, and so it's time for me to like pay attention to me again.
You have
And
to.
just not, because I've been eating for just it's like a drug. It's like to fill whatever void or something. So
or you're bored. And
yeah, so I just completed week 1 and I feel really good.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You stuck with it. You completed
Yeah.
one. Now just
Exactly.
get through the rest of
If
them.
I can get through 3 days of something, I'm pretty much like, if I can get through 3 days, I can get through, you know, and keep going. I'm really good about that.
I feel like that's the rule of thumb. The first 3 days
Yeah.
are the hardest for everything.
Yep. Yeah. As when I stopped drinking, I was like, oh, if I can get through 3 days without really being like, oh, I need I need beer or whatever, then it was fine after that. It really wasn't that big of a deal.
And you definitely have to pay attention to yourself, because I
Yeah.
read something and it's so true. we cannot be healthy for our kids if we're not taking care of ourselves.
And that's so
Amen.
true. I'm just busy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like so busy. And I know when people say that, they probably are, but like legitimately, I'm
No time to breathe.
every
I feel
single
you.
minute of my day is accounted for. Before all this, I was in my office working on scheduling stuff, emailing clients, making phone calls, doing all these things. As soon as we're done here today, I'm going to be doing the same motherfucking thing. And then I have homework that's due. You know, I've got big paper and I've got homework due for grad school. And then when I get home tonight, that's probably when I'll do my homework. But, you know, my husband makes the dinner. He does the laundry. He does all of this stuff that I just legit don't have time to do.
But it's going to, you know what? It's going to be worth it because you're engaging in consistent action.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I'm
why.
good at consistent action. It's just
gonna
when
be
it
so
comes
worth
to
it.
taking care of me and only me, I'm not good at it.
You'll get it.
Yeah.
You work it in there. You make it part of your daily routine.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for 5 minutes to yourself.
That's what I've been doing. Like, well, of course, the day before, I signed up with this coach on a Sunday morning. Sunday night, I threw my back out at work. I've never thrown my back out a day in my life, and I could barely walk. So that was a week ago on Sunday, and so I went to the chiropractor 5 times last week. I mean, it was torture. I slipped a disc. They were doing like this disc protocol. It was fucking torture, and so I have not been able to do anything when it comes to the working out portion of this challenge whatsoever. Because I was given strict orders. She's like, do not do anything that could potentially like herniate this disc again. Because right now I'm in like a weakened state, so it can happen super easily. So you have to take it super easy for a while.
Yeah.
So
I've been there. Like that's
never done that before. And I literally
chiropractic.
turned like from here to here, and it just like lightning striking through my back. It was crazy.
That's all it takes is just like a
I know,
movement.
but like that's a normal human movement. That's not fucking fair, man.
I know. No, it happened to me when we lived in Georgia. I was making coffee, and my mother-in-law at the time was staying with us because my cousin-in-law, she was staying with her, but she had moved with her boyfriend, so we took her.
Yep.
And I was making coffee. She said something to me, and I already had injuries in my neck and shoulder from an accident. And I just turned. I said, "What?" And then I just felt a pop, and that was it. Horrible. And it's like just a normal movement.
Yeah.
Or you could just be sleeping and you wake up and you're like, oh, I can't move.
Or I sneeze.
Yep.
You're like, what the fuck?
Yep.
I threw my back out sneezing.
How old am I? 80?
I know.
Jesus.
Why
I
am
know.
I breaking?
I know.
Oh.
What do you do?
Oh,
Tell
well,
me everything. How can you sculpt this?
Well, I started doing this back in 2010, right out of aesthetic school. So I've been doing this for 15 years. I use cavitation and radio frequency, which is a non-invasive method to permanent fat reduction and skin tightening, and along with EMS, which is electrical muscle stimulation, to actually help build muscle and destroy both subcutaneous and visceral body fat. I started making my own equipment back in 2019. So I've developed this whole system where we make our own equipment right here in America, high grade, high quality, great results, and we distribute to other professionals, as most equipment comes from China. And then I perform these treatments on a daily basis, and I've helped a lot of people get in touch with their nutrition, because like I think I was telling you guys earlier, I just don't take anybody. You have to have good nutrition, drink plenty of water, and be on a healthy lifestyle. Because I don't care what clinic you go to, if they tell you that doesn't matter, they're lying.
Right.
So for like the mom that's had a few kids, but she's really good at going to the gym, but she just has like that saggy skin, like pooch, kind of that the kind of stuff that you help.
Oh yeah. And then I do a phone evaluation first to make sure you can answer all the medical questions, make sure you are a candidate. Then I'll physically have you come in for a complimentary consult so I can assess the area. And if sometimes I may suggest that you go invasive, like sometimes maybe you need a tummy tuck and you're willing to do that. And I'll say, if you want the best result, that may be your best route. But some people don't want to do that, nor they might not need to.
Right.
So then I will say, you know what, then I'm for you. We're going to be a good mix for each other.
So how can people find you?
They can text me at 754-245-6689 or go to my website at dreambodysculpt.com or on Instagram at Dreambody Sculpting Studios. And then for my devices page, if you are in the industry and want a high quality, great equipment that actually works, is dreambodysculptingdevices.com. Same thing on Instagram, Dreambody Sculpting Devices.
You got those domains on lock.
Oh yeah, have to. It's been years. Like I'm in this for like almost 16 years now.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
it's a lot.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for coming in, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
You rocked it.
Oh, you
you
guys
did.
are amazing. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Thank you for listening. You can find us on Facebook at I Can't Even Imagine, a podcast for moms, and on Instagram at ICEI_podcast, and all of your favorite podcast networks. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.